Test flying time, guys. Thank you for being here. Toto as well. Thank you in this crucial time. And Digital, good to see you. Alex, how are you guys all doing? And Ankoron, hello. So, test flight. I cannot wait. I feel actually pretty excited to see if it even, as Digital points out quite correctly, I'm hoping that it even loads up in X-Plane, let alone start and fly. So what I've made is a new sticky note, as you can see here, with first some things that I'm hoping that we can check in this stream in terms of ground handling. But I'm definitely also going just to put it in the air and just see how it flies. But the idea is to really systematically trying to evaluate the flight performance and obviously optimize it. So we need to go back and forth between X-Plane and PlaneMaker to further optimize all of the different numbers and stuff. So we just set a very basic version of our current Cessna Skyhawk 172, but now the real complexity, the real testing and optimization starts. So new phase, new stage. As you can see, we at the top here, my progress bar, we have now completed the initial build in PlaneMaker, and now we're going to do all kinds of test flights. But still, PlaneMaker is going to play a very essential role here. Also, Airflow Maker perhaps. So yeah, exciting times. Those are, yeah, deep experience under control. If it lifts off and doesn't flip out right away, I'd call that a success. Yes, exactly. So meanwhile, what I've done before I load it up, just a few tiny things. So I totally forgot in the last stream to hook up the instruments in our wonderful space shuttle type 2D panel here to hook up all of the different instruments to the different buses, electronic buses. Well, and I'm not quite sure how X-Plane will actually power these different instruments, because obviously already in the systems menu in PlaneMaker we've already configured our electrical system based on 2 buses and what instruments and what loads and stuff. So I'm not quite sure whether this is actually necessary to put these checkboxes on, and if we do so, if this adds additional loads to our system, and then, well, our electrical load analysis will not be that realistic. So I don't know, we'll have to see. Also, let me see. Instruments to buses, yeah, so that's what I did for all of these instruments. Also just replace the artificial horizon, the digital one, with a gyroscopic one, because I thought, well, perhaps when we load it up, which is not a big deal, but we have assigned here in PlaneMaker that we have a gyroscopic artificial attitude indicator. So I thought, let's change that up as well to more mimic the Cessna Skyhawk instruments. G-load indicator, I've added a CG, center of gravity load. I have no idea whether this is useful or not. We're also going to enable a lot of data refs, and I guess those are actually much more useful. But just to have a panel where we can see things at the same time in a more overview, I think is helpful, I guess. So yeah, keep Sin only has bus 1. I think these are simply triggers for having the visible instruments fail and don't model load, but you'll be getting rid of these anyway, so who cares? Exactly. Okay, Roger. Added light switches as well, so we can see those too. I initially thought, well, just put only the landing light and the pitot heat so we can see the most significant discharge of the battery, but then I thought, well, I just also like to see whether the lights are also all working, and also to see the loads and stuff. So that's what I did. There's another menu under special equipment with experts I found. So we've been tinkering with all of these menus here, but under expert there's also something that I found, not that big of a deal, but still, marker beacon audio equipped, and this checkbox was initially on as well, TCAS, which we don't have. Not a big thing, but that's something that I changed just to be as transparent as possible of what I've been doing so far. And what I did is I made screenshots of each and every menu here and tab, and backed that up. Also the aircraft model itself, because now we've put in all of the objective numbers, so loads and weight and balances and stuff. But now comes also a bit of the subjective dimension to flying. First, we need to see whether these objective numbers even yield the right kind of aircraft performance in X-Plane, and I'm expecting that it will actually be off. So I need to tweak our correct objective numbers in PlaneMaker so that the Skyhawk will behave like a Skyhawk in X-Plane. But I don't like to forget about those real numbers. So that's what I did. So here in my reference folder, I've made a backup folder. And so this is my version 1 of the Skyhawk. And here you can see all of the different folders and also a backup. So that's what I did as well. That's about it. What I also found, just as a guide, it's not really that much of a guide, but it is interesting, is some documentation on flight testing, which was nice. I found some other materials as well, but for today, I've got my own list. So obviously there are many people, pilots, who built their own experimental aircraft, like Rush is doing in AirSim Gaming. And obviously they need to test fly their aircraft as well. Well, usually if you have the money, I guess, or I guess overall, you just like to have a real proper professional test pilot to fly your experimental plane. But here they, at least in South Africa, they've made this document advising, guiding pilots how to do those test flights. So some guidelines, which are quite useful for us. I mean, we don't have an experimental aircraft, but in a way we do have an experimental aircraft. I built it myself here in PlaneMaker, and we need to test whether it's working correctly. And this document is just a PDF for free on Google. Just search for it. It's actually quite interesting. Also with a lot of statistics on doing test flights with experimental aircraft. What I also found interesting is here a pie chart that shows the percentages of accidents according to man or machine made or induced. And actually those are almost half. So about half of the accidents with experimental aircraft are caused, at least based on some kind of data set, I don't know what data set, but are caused either by the pilot or by the machine. So pretty much anything can go wrong. And then they move on, and then they give us some guidelines of what stuff that we should look at when we're going to do our flight test. And what's important here is that the flight test already starts even before we are sitting in the actual aircraft. Well, we already tested or double checked all of these systems here in PlaneMaker, but also just running the engine to see if the engine even starts, to see if the oil pressure comes in 30 seconds and that kind of stuff. Then very carefully trying to taxi, do a high-speed taxi first. Now, obviously in the real world, if you crash, you're done for. Now here in X-Plane with the simulator, we can do whatever, so we can actually be much more bold. But I like this style of just approaching it in a more realistic manner. Today, though, I am going to drop this Skyhawk at 7,000 feet, and we'll just see how it flies because I'm so damn curious. But I'd like to somehow, to some degree, stick to this plan because I think that's cool. Ozzy, good to see you. Welcome on the stream. How exciting is this? Parachute ready. Yeah. I'm hoping that it will fly, guys, and I'm also hoping even prior to that it's going to start the engine, that it also loads the aircraft, that we don't get any error messages or other stuff that we need to worry about. So anyways, what I've done is distinguished between a ground test flight and an air one. Now, again, as I said, we are going to do an air one today, just a very basic fun little try. But initially, though, I like to spend most of the time just reviewing the engine and just how it taxis and, well, that stuff. So this is the list that I've made. Starting very basic. It's even also need to assign my joystick here. So just a very basic joystick. With a rudder axis. So we need to assign some buttons, and then just to see if we got good control surface deflections and stuff. So basics first. Then turn on the battery and stuff to see what kind of charge we have. Also when we turn on the landing lights. So from basic, you're just going to see how it behaves. And my expectations are that they even though the numbers are right here in X-Plane, they will be off in X-Plane. So they are right in PlaneMaker, but off in X-Plane, based off of what you guys are suggesting and also what I've read about PlaneMaker versus X-Plane. And that's a little bit frustrating because obviously you are hoping that X-Plane just mimics the real world as best as it can, but at least to an extent where it's flyable and it works just fine. But if it's really far off, yeah, that will be a little bit of a bummer, I guess. So I'm already expecting that will be the case, and then we just need to optimize. So, having said that, let's load it up. Final save. File. Save. We can just keep PlaneMaker open. We can start up X-Plane. And I'll just drag it to my other desktop space. We have to see. Hey, Boom, good to see you. X-Plane, so no add-ons or stuff, just the basic X-Plane. So now I switched it, so we got PlaneMaker here, X-Plane over there. Guys, let's load it up. I'm a little bit anxious. New flight. No, this is ours. Question mark. Well, yeah, does it fly? Thermal is just fine. So what's also interesting is that the guide, that flight testing guide, also the FAA actually, talks about how important it is to select the proper airports to do your first test flight. Obviously, you have to have some space to do it. An untowered airport would be great, a good hangar, but also in case of emergencies, is there a hospital nearby? Is there a fire truck? Does personnel in the airport know that you're doing a test flight? Really, really interesting stuff that, well, we cannot really simulate here. So let's pretend that we as a community here right now in the stream are collaborating and helping to make this effort a success, which it's kind of cool. Some examples that I've read about people doing their first test flight is really really nice bonding kind of community effort, where all kinds of engineers and also fellow pilots join in just to, they are curious, but also just to support, which is really, really great. Ozzy, why are you using a joystick versus your regular joke? Won't it be hard to compare sensitivity, different control? Yes, it will, Ozzy. But now in this initial stage, I'm expecting that we need to tweak a lot in PlaneMaker. And I'd rather do that here on my iMac just initially. And once we get just based on the performance of the Skyhawk, so good stall speeds and stuff, if the measures look good, then I'm going to take this 172 as it currently is to my cockpit, and then I will fly to get a better sense of that sensitivity. So it's more like a staged kind of approach, at least in my mind currently. So yes. Anyway, so I was thinking about Jacqueline, also because it's an untowered airport, and also because it's away from urban areas and stuff in case of crashes and stuff, and also alternate airports that we can divert to in case. So it's interesting stuff, I think. Let's put us, well, we can put ourselves on the runway, but I just rather put ourselves, this is just a normal GA ramp. Do I care? No, but I do like to just put it on the ramp. Yeah, is there anything else that we can do? Start with engines not running. Weight and balance. Payload. Well, yeah, so we also need to do flights based on different center of gravity scales. So forward or aft. And do stalls and stuff to see if everything still fits. But those are tweaks that we're going to do in another stream where we're going to do in-air test flights. But I guess this is just fine. Done. Okay, guys, let's load her up for the very first time. Start. Uncalibrated joystick has found. Would you like to configure it now? Yes, I think so. Oh, that's cool. It already loads up the image. think it shouldn't be that difficult. Calibrate now. Yaw. And throttle. Yes. Next. Let go of your controls. Center position. Done. Good. And I guess throttle is already throttle? Yes. And what's brakes? Fire all armed selections. Nope. I would like to have brakes there. Brakes max effort. Hold brakes regular, hold brakes maximum. They go toggle or hold. I think hold. We'll have to see. Apply. Hold brakes maximum. Okay, and flaps and stuff we're just going to do with the mouse. Once again, guys, pray. 172. The birth of the 172 SP. Please, work. Looking good. Ah! We loaded, guys. We loaded up. But clearly the viewpoint is a bit weird. So that's the first thing that I'm noticing that we can change. I think shift and down. Yes. Good old Flight Simulator 5.0 times, I guess. It loads. Good. I cannot wait to see the outside. It's going to be a gray blob, I guess. Shift 4. There it is, guys. There it is. The Skyhawk. That's weird. And well, again, weird. We know that it looks like this. We've already seen that it looks like this in PlaneMaker, but just to see it in X-Plane, to me, is different. It looks pretty good. Here with the skid. Exhaust pipe. And again, it might be that we need to remove that exhaust pipe or these details here with the wing tips. I mean, they look nice, but perhaps... also, the wings look a little bit heavy, as if they were hanging down. Or perhaps that's just the wing twist here at the bottom. That's your model, right? Yes, that's my model. Yes, it seems almost that the wings are a bit down. And that's also something that I'm curious of, actually. One thing that I noticed with loading up the Laminar 172 and the Airflow Labs one in PlaneMaker is that the wheels bounce on the ground. And it might be that in contrast to PlaneMaker, in X-Plane now applies some gravitational force to the aircraft. So perhaps the wings are too light or don't have any structural integrity or some strength to them. And that's why they are getting pulled down a bit. I mean, at least to me, they're much too curved downwards. I mean, usually the wings have a little bit more of a dihedral upwards. It's not a fully loaded tank or fully loaded tanks. And also the tanks are over here in the middle, so not at the tips. But that's the first thing that I'm noticing. And again, also a lot of very nice YouTube videos on test piloting and even academies for that in the military. It's really, really nice. And the first test already is just walking towards the airplane and have a general idea of what it looks like. Well, that's my first... perhaps we should also work or take a notepad or something like that and write down what we see. And what we could do, I'd rather not just fix each item in the order by which we notice it. Let's just first get a general idea of what's working. And and then think about how we're going to fix all of this. Digital, the wings should point up slightly. Yeah, exactly. Super nice, Boom. Your determination really is inspiring. Good to know, Boom. Thanks. Like an A380. Yes. So that's PlaneMaker on the other side. Where's my mouse? Oh, perhaps it's trapped in X-Plane. Hello? Or I guess because we're there. Shift 9 is 3D cockpit. Where's my mouse? This is not good. If I don't see my mouse cursor, then... Okay, that's least of my worries. Yeah, my mouse cursor has gone because it also went to my second monitor here. How did that happen? So the first issue that we run into is my mouse cursor disappears. Never happened to me before. Let's see if I can... Yeah, now I'm outside of... Yeah, so here's my mouse. Let's see if I can go to my... This is annoying. How am I going to solve this, guys? Perhaps it's X-Plane. I should reload X-Plane. Or is it because I just switched desktops? No, this should just work. Let's just quit X-Plane. We know that it loads. We don't see any... Does that work? Does that change anything? Yes, it does. Well, not really unexpectedly. Ignore. So what was I thinking? I was thinking wings were pointed down and I don't know. I thought I was already thinking about something that I can do. Oh yeah, the list. So we got a test flight of things that we're going to do, but let's also make a note or a log of things that we are noticing. So file, new note. Let's give that a green color, what we need to fix. And I like to have the same kind of font because I'm a little bit of a nerd. Yeah. Observations. Wing dihedral? I don't know how you write it actually. Dihedral. To negative almost, or wings too heavy. Okay. Let's see if we can make, again, Skyhawk, clear, clear, clear. And I guess it's still the same. Buy a Windows computer. Yeah, I guess so. It loaded, guys. This is so cool. Just the start. Just the start. We need so many things to do. All right. So again, here we are. Ah, the engine is already running. Okay. That doesn't look good at all. Look at the RPM here. And Also the batteries. Oh, now it's done. EGT is dropping. And batteries and stuff are still on. Okay. Just quit anything. Yeah, okay, the engine is already done, I guess. Oh, that's because of the fuel pump. Interesting. Off, 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 off. Flaps are up, everything is up, and my ignition switch should be turned to off. How does that all the way around? Off. Yeah, so the EGT is slowly going down. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, so, yeah, as I said, let's just check the very basic first things. Let me just remove PlaneMaker for now. Controls, deflections. Let's see. I've built in... Yeah, there it is. So, at least here, the controls look good. But I also like to see it. Shift 4. Looking good. It works. It's not not too complex, this or unsurprising, or too surprising. But it's good to see. Also, the angle of the nose wheel we said is good. Okay. So it works, and also in terms of angle. So the rudders look good, the nose wheel look good. Yeah, look at the wings. There's something wrong with that. Ailerons. Yeah, they don't look funny at least. Okay, that's good. Shift. How do I get back into view? Option W. Okay. So that's checked. Elevator trim speed. So here is the trim. I think I just need to set it, right? Is this... No, it's not a manipulator. Joystick. What's a good... Yeah, I picked those here to the left. So that one. Flaps up. No, that's not what I wanted. Really nice layout, this joystick configuration. Usually I'm using Spot Next for my Cessna yoke, but this is really nice. Elevate, okay. Trim. Pitch trim down, but I'd like to go up. Pitch trim up. Apply. And that one is then 6. Yeah, number 6. Again. Trim. And that one goes... Or is that a bit weird? What do they mean? Trim down, is that that we're turning the wheel down or that we're pointing the nose down? Well, it's pitch. So I actually like it to have it the other way around. This is pitch up. And then number 8 is down. Why doesn't that work? Because perhaps I'm not assigning the right pitch trim down. Do we have anything else? Pitch trim. Gyro controls, aileron trim. No, flight controls. Should work. Well, perhaps this indicator, Or do we need power to do that because we have an electric trim? Yes. Oh, it's up or down. Okay. That's not really helpful. And shift. No, we don't see the trim, right? We don't see that the trim is set because we didn't assign any control surface for that in PlaneMaker. Okay. So we just need to reset it and also assign a button for that. For example, well, number 7 here. Trim. Is there also something that says center, or doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Well, trim takeoff, but we didn't set that, or it was set at 0 in PlaneMaker, so that might work as well. It's a little bit confusing though. Yep, now it's centered. So up, down, center. Yeah, but so that test we cannot already not do. Oh, I should have done that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm losing my mouse cursor when I'm in this mode. I should first click outside of the X-Plane menu because otherwise Mac doesn't understand what we're doing. Okay. So be it. Ignore. So yeah, so we're doing our test flight here. I'd like to have another sticky note for stuff that we cannot test just yet. New note. Let's give that a purple color. Yeah. Test to do still. Elevator speeds. Cannot help myself to just change this color. SNA, just in time for the test flight, I guess. Hello. Yeah, so we were able to load it up. That's really, really nice. Let me see, customize. Don't start with engines running. And it's so cool to see the Skyhawk here in X-Plane, finally. But now the real challenge starts to do proper tests and optimize the thing according to the performance tables and blah, 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 blah. It's going to be difficult as well, especially what kind of test flights you need to do in order to get there. Let me see. So everything is off right now. Yes. Okay, so just double check. Now I'm outside of PlaneMaker. Yeah, then I keep my mouse. Test to do still. Yeah, well, that's fine. Okay, electrical load, battery. Yeah, so we just turn on the battery, avionics, and all of the different systems to see what the load is. Yeah. Let's have an idea. So we're off. We turn on the battery switch and there we go. Boom. So there's a drain. And this should be the overhead drain that we put in when only the electronic systems are on and not the avionics. If you turn on the avionics, there's even more. I must say, though, that this is quite extensive, I think, with just the avionics on. Look at that jump. So that's the first thing that I'm noticing. Well, the generator is not doing anything because the engine is not on. We have a volt reading. We don't have a digital display here, but it seems to be around 24.5-ish. So that's nominal. And also these colors, all of these ranges here are, which is pretty nice, are generated. These scales are generated by the stuff that we put into PlaneMaker. So that's how X-Plane here knows what's the green arc and what's the red line, because we set all of that stuff. We don't have any fuel flow, no fuel pressure, fuel quantity. Yeah, so that's one thing that I find a little bit weird, that jump for just turning on the avionics. It could be that that's because I've hooked up all of these instruments to the avionics or to some bus, and perhaps that's why it doesn't work, but I'm not quite sure. Either way, batteries on if I turn on the landing lights. Yeah, so then you get the number of amps added to, so that makes sense though. The beacon doesn't do much. Taxi light must do something. Nevs a bit, strobe a bit, pitot heat should do some, and fuel pump should also drain. Yeah, and there goes the fuel pressure. Interesting. Also muted the sounds, by the way, in the settings a long time ago, so that's why we don't hear anything. Hey, Agent, good to see you. Ozzy, have you any sounds? No. So I just muted the sounds, and I guess that X-Plane will just use the default propeller sounds that it has, which are already quite cool. I also like to record my own sounds, which is also going to be a challenge later in the project. Yeah, so 21 amps in total. Now, the thing that I'm noticing are just based on intuition, I guess, is that I would expect to not see that much of a jump in discharge by just pressing on the avionics. Similarly, when I look at these different lights and I turn those on, I think, okay, yeah, the landing light should add significant load. Taxi lights, navigation lights a bit less, strobe lights, pitot heat also. But to really evaluate it against some kind of a measure, I guess I just need to look at PlaneMaker, and I would expect to see the same kind of discharge here as we put it into PlaneMaker. But to me, if I remember my own flights in the Skyhawk, at least with the reality extension pack and with the airflow labs, when I load up the Cessna and turn on all of this stuff, I wouldn't expect to see that much of a discharge, but perhaps it's just because of this scale. It's so much bigger. This indicator looks quite different from the amp meter, the M meter in the usual Skyhawk, and so that puts me a bit off here. Anyways. Okay, so what I'm noticing, what I'm observing is also avionics. Let's write it out. Turning avionics on yields quite a huge, which quite a huge is not the way to do it. How much? So everything is off. Avionics. So we're now at, so this is 20. So this should be 10. So each little thing there is 5. So we're now at 5. That kind of like 5. We jump from 5 to 15 and a bit more. So yeah, 11 amps or something like that are added just by turning on the avionics, and nothing else is on. Produces about a 11 amp discharge. Anchor, I think seeing it on the gauge is good, but for checking the real values, you need to check the actual values from the data replication. Oh yeah, that's also a good one. Yeah, so obviously I'm now only looking at these gauges, but perhaps these gauges might be off because of some measurement error or something else that Xplane is doing with these gauges. So thank you for reminding me, Ank. So how we can do that, we can go to here and go to data output. Let's see. So these are all the different data refs that we can display. Interesting stuff. Never looked at this menu section before. So for example, engine thrust. Oh, this is so cool. Imagine doing this in the real world where you don't have this data. You also need to add additional devices to get the data. Or for example, with the airspeed indicator, to calibrate your new installed airspeed indicator, you need to fly with a buddy who has already a calibrated indicator, and so you can match each other's readouts, or you use GPS or other ways. It's really interesting to think about how you strategies to gather, or devices to gather this data. Generator on off. No, I'm just interested in load, deflections, control surfaces, wing lift, electrical switches, pressurization, electrical and solar systems. Yeah, but just want to see load actually. Is that it? I don't know. Click. Bus 1, bus 2, bus 3, battery 1, and we only have one battery, and solar. Yeah, so we've got 2 buses. This is how many amps, I guess, for bus 1 and bus 2. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Warning. Is there anything else that we have? No, I guess not. At least at the moment. All right, interesting. So again, I'm reminding myself of that electrical load scheme or diagram where you can see all of the different devices connected to different primary or different electrical buses and avionics buses. So it makes sense. We've got only one battery, as you can see. Battery 2 doesn't work. Watt hours. Engine is not doing anything. And yeah, this is... that's also interesting why this is actually getting less and less and less and less, because the battery, I guess, is getting less powerful because we're using it. So the battery is, yeah, it's being discharged. That's what's happening right now. So until we start the engine, this thing will add, I guess, add up. Working with DataRef editor or DataRef tool will make it easier for you. Working with the DataRef editor or DataRef tool will make it easier for you. Ank, I don't know what that actually is, and I'm also not remembering anything of Toto saying something about that, but perhaps I've just missed it. Let me scroll back into chat. Perhaps it was from another stream, but oh yeah, Toto, also get DataRef editor and DataRef tool. Didn't see that. No idea what those apps are about. DataRef editor or DataRef tool. It sounds to me like that those are plugins or something where you can more directly, quickly edit numbers. For example, the loads and stuff while we are in the sim. Okay. Anyways, yeah, you can see so the volts. Yeah, that's good. That's interesting. Now I'm curious to see if we start. Oh no, we can also lower the flaps. Let's see what that does with the discharge. doesn't do that much. It doesn't do anything, actually. There it goes. Just a bit. And up. Yeah, buzz, you can see 5.7. Should take 9 seconds until the flaps are retracted. Boom, and there it is. And then it's less. Yeah. So these are actually quite basic calculations in a way. Supposed to link? I think you are, Hank. Try. I think you should be able to post a link. And thank you for sharing already in advance. Yeah, but why I don't see an amperage change over there in that gauge is interesting. And that, again, suggests that even though it's nice to have such a 2D panel layout initially, it is not that precise as just a data ref, obviously. But it also might be working quite different. So again, flaps down, you can see 5.7 amps. Let's see the change in that needle. And let's put it back up again. Boom, yeah, it returns. There's a slight difference, but I think that the flaps should actually be a little bit more, drain a bit more power. Was it just 1.5? Let's go back. Just an observation, we need to double check that. Flaps, discharge, just 1.5 amps, question mark. Releases, thank you, Ang. Data ref tool. Still curious to see what this actually is. I'm not going to install it here right now, but I am going to look at it though. Outside of explain, yes. Data ref editor tool. Thank you, Ang, for sharing. Yes. Okay, so our battery is getting discharged, obviously, while we are chatting here. Let's see if we can start up this baby, and let's see if the propeller, the engine, actually works. So, mixture full in. We can prime the engine. We see a little bit of pressure there. Also, amp. It's quite some pressure. And off. A little bit of throttle in. Also, I don't quite get the throttle here because the marks start at this end and not over here, which suggests to me that perhaps this handle might also be used for jets for reverse thrust. And so if I'm at idle here, perhaps it tells my Skyhawk to do weird things because we don't have, obviously we don't have reverse thrust. So let's put it on there, a little bit of throttle in. Are we ready? I think so. Brakes, we have some brakes. Let's start her up. And she starts. The engine is running, but it's not charging. That's because we don't have an alternator switch in our cockpit. Important, I guess. Or perhaps because we're running idle. No. Yeah, you can see we're still discharging, and this is confirmed here. We don't also see any amperage here. Okay. Yeah, I think we should turn on. Now let's see if I can do that while we are already in the sim. So I'm switching to PlaneMaker. Let's see if that works as I think it should work. Engine, or is it a switch? I guess it's a button. APU. Hey Microsoft, good to see you. Hydraulic pump. Battery, yeah. So this is the one that we use for now. Battery, avionics, yes. So I would expect to see something. Is that APU then? It's a starter switch on the core. Turn it all the way clockwise to start the APU, then release. Now, I mean, APU, I associate APUs with jets, but perhaps X-Plane is referring or giving it other names. Autopilot, auto brake, auto feather. Camera power. No, shoot. Hydraulics pump, jettison, puffer. Well, we can try the APU. No, this is not it. Especially looking at that gauge. Yeah. Ammeter volts. The igniter. Generator APU. No, let's get this one in. Let's put it over here. Let's put it in the middle just to a little bit more clean. Save. Let's also save it here in X-Plane, I guess. And we move on to X-Plane here. And we say reload current aircraft. Does that work? Look like a reload. Yes, generator. That's easy. Ah, something is happening. Let me see. So the throttle is still a bit weird, I guess. If I haven't put it all the way down to idle. If I go all the way idle, the RPM is doing weird little things. So that's also something that I'm noticing. So let's put it at around 500. So a little bit of throttle. And now we have a charge. Suddenly we got 29 volts, perhaps because we just reloaded the aircraft as well. So if I turn off the generator, yeah, there it goes. Now it's discharging again. Needle is low. Pretty big discharge. Oh yeah, everything is on. Landing lights, taxi lights, and generator on. Boom. And with everything on, we still have a slight charge. That looks good. Volts. Yeah, this should be around 28 then, or 29. That's the readout here. So I guess this is something that we could have done with the limits PlaneMaker, because where did it get this green arc from? That's from the battery. So perhaps that green arc that I put into PlaneMaker here for the battery voltage, and it doesn't really matter at all because we're not going to use these instruments, but I'm just thinking about it. This voltmeter, this one, this is quite high. Yeah, so this is 29.5. This was based on that table that I saw that with given particular temperatures, outside temperatures, the battery can give a higher voltage, have a higher volt readout than with lower temperatures, high and low temperatures. And why that might be interesting, clearly now it's taking the max, which is 29.5, which should not be 29.5. Yeah, and this is because of the alternator. If I turn on the alternator off, or the generator in this case, it goes back to the battery, which has a 24 volt battery, and there it goes. It's using up, and I turn it on, woof, and then it's again 29.5. Yes. And here you can see it's discharging and charging, discharging and charging. Yeah, okay. So that's not good. And I think that's still an objective kind of thing. Alternator voltage instead of 29.5, I think we set to 28. Just a 28 volt system, I think, and it can be a bit higher at times, but that obviously interacts with all kinds of different factors that we cannot put into X-Plane just yet. So yeah. Usually either the throttle on a Cessna, your spark plugs will get dirty and your engine will run terribly. Yes, exactly. Talking about EGT and fouled spark plugs, I also am curious to see when we lower the mixture to see what the engine is actually doing. Still though, there are other things that we can look at. So in terms of the generator here, so now with the engine on and all the lights on, yeah, so you can see I'm turning off lights here, less load. You can see the battery will still keep the same charge, but the amperage from the generator, I mean, the generator is saying, well, we don't need that much power anymore. And the fuel pump off, that's interesting. Also lowers the pressure. Shouldn't have put on my fuel pump that long. That's an interesting, that's good to see, interesting. Yeah. What is the fuel flow saying? That's also interesting. So at idle, well, it's not really idle. Let's go a little bit less. Again, I need to look at that as well. $500. Fuel flow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so that's 2 gallons. We're currently making 2 gallons per hour just by idling. I have no idea if that's okay. And again, these are numbers that we did not set yet in PlaneMaker because we couldn't. Because those are numbers that we cannot find in a manual or stuff. So we need to create those based off of, or develop those based off of what we see here in X-Plane. Okay, let's go back. Observations, alternator. Yes, another thing that I'm noticing is that at idle throttle, the engine quits, which indeed is not that weird, but I know that with the reality extension pack and also just the default laminar, also with the airflow labs, if you just put your throttle at idle, the thing just keeps running. It's a little bit unstable, it's a little bit stuttery, but it still keeps running. And in our case, it doesn't. So keep that there, and fuel flow at idle. We have 2 gallons per hour. So again in X-Plane, so now I am at idle. This looks good. Oh, it was perhaps because I didn't turn on the generator. Generator off. We get a little bit higher RPM because the alternator, no, perhaps there's a little bit, I'm visualizing, perhaps that's wrong, that the alternator belt, but that's still spinning, I guess. But now that we turn off the generator, no power is being, perhaps it's less, has less friction now, and that's why the RPM increases. I don't know how to explain that. If I turn on my generator, the RPM drops down. Either way though, it doesn't go down to idle as we started. Or does it? No, it keeps hanging there at 550. A manifold pressure change over time. What's the weather that we set actually? That's also important in terms of pressure. That's not settings. Let's see. Whether that fluctuates based off the wind. That would be cool. Clear, customized. Clear, 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 no winds, nothing. Okay, so that's just a general kind of thing. But because at the beginning the oil was cold, NZ, yeah, perhaps. Perhaps it could explain why. Yeah, that's a good one. And again, this is also, Laminar has upgraded the engine behavior recently in the previous update. That's also why sim coders need to update some stuff with the EGT, and that's also why Airflow Labs now has problems. So it might be that the current model is actually much more realistic, which is cool. So far, so good. We have a running engine. Let's see what happens when we fiddle around with the mixture. So when I'm pulling on the mixture, I am expecting a less fuel flow because we're cutting off mixture flow input. I'm also expecting to see the EGT. Where's the EGT? Is that EGT? Is this? Oh yeah, this is the EGT. To go up. Anything else? Well, we see a slight rise in RPM perhaps. Let's see what happens. Mixture in. That's the rise in the RPM. And there it goes down. So a little bit rich of peak. There goes the EGT. A little bit less of a fuel flow. 1.5 gallons. Still oil temperature, oil pressure is good. Yeah, here you can see the number finally, a digital, or no, not really digitalized, but it's usually with the EGT you only see relative tick marks. And so I never thought about what the actual absolute temperature would be of that exhaust gas temperature. And clearly I had some significant misconceptions on that front, as Toto explained me. But now with this particular gauge, we can actually see the actual temperature. So 1,000 degrees, exhaust gas. I mean, that's hot. I never knew that it was that hot. It could even be much hotter. But it's interesting. Microsoft. I posted info about fuel consumption. Right. Cessna 172 burn 9 gallons per hour at 75% at cruise. Yes. But but I can find that stuff in the performance tables. But it only starts at 2,000 feet, I believe. So yeah, what we could also do, rather than changing, I mean, what we could do is search for fuel flow here at idle at ground and try to optimize the numbers so that it fits. What we could also do is, if we cannot find those numbers, just start flying and fly 2,000 according to the performance tables, and based off of that tweak some numbers so we get the right fuel flow, and then it will translate also to being at the right fuel flow when we're at the ground in idle. Yeah. Thanks anyway, Microsoft, for sharing. Appreciate it. A little bit of fresh air. But this looks all really good. Can we even go a little bit more? Yeah, lean. So now you can see the EGT is even going up, going up, going up. Also the manifold pressure. What's the cylinder head temperature? That's this one, right? So what happens if a further... So EGT goes up, the cylinder head temperature must go up as well. Yeah, there it goes. slowly. And you can see the engine is starting to quit, so a little bit more air. Yeah, so now we're spiking here. And the cylinder temperature slowly rises. This is cool. Not just that it does something, but what I also find very interesting is that for the first time, I'm really trying to value these different instruments and systems on their own, rather than just as a pilot, is it in the green arc? Yes, and we go. It's more like, it's not a procedural glance at the indicator, but now I'm actually trying to see. It's good. It's good practice. But so far, we didn't find any real big errors at all. And at idle, it doesn't quit, right? There goes EGT. Cylinder temperature should slowly go down. Again, this is not a gauge that we should have in the 172. Okay. Let's quit the thing. Avionics off. Yeah, this is interesting. Let me first do something else. Beacons on, landing lights, taxi lights, nav lights, strobe lights. Pitot heat, I don't care. And avionics, I don't care as well. Flaps down. So you can see flaps go down, and it actually takes power from the... Yeah, until it's done, and then it's stabilized, I guess. Around 9 seconds. Yeah, about here, I guess. Much more drain on the battery, and you can see that it fluctuates just a tiny bit, but still the battery is charging. Good. We don't have any use of this. Yeah, the data refs are much better here. Again, because I didn't set it properly. Okay, now I'm going to go outside. And there are the flaps. Those are working too. Their angle looked just very good. And I also see position lights, but I do see that they are in the air. They are much too high, which surprises me a bit, but further confirms that the wings are indeed bent over. You can see they're a bit droopy. So, indeed, X-Plane is applying some kind of gravitational force or weight to the aircraft that we don't see when we load up the model in PlaneMaker. And this is the difference, this height. Which is a bit weird, because I would expect that the lights are embedded in the flight model. So if the wing goes down, the light should also go down. But apparently those are two independent things. And the beacon and the position light, this is nice. And the prop is turning, which looks good. This is really cool. Looks awesome. Yeah, digital, I think too. I think so too. But the wings trouble me a bit. I'm also wondering whether the wheels are also having that same bending kind of behavior. So I'm guessing that I need to put in some kind of spring force, or some kind of give the strut a little bit more structural strength or so, or the wings themselves. There's something going on that isn't right here. Either way, what was it? Option W? Alt W. This looks good. It's so far so good, guys. There's some tiny things still, but I was expecting much worse. Let's quit the engine. Boom. Dice, and ignition switch to off. And you can see slowly the EGT is going down, and this is interesting. You never see this EGT go down this way, because usually the EGT gauge in the Skyhawk starts apparently somewhere around 1,000 degrees or so. It's not indicated, but now you can see that it's slowly cooling down all the way down to 0. I think that's nice to see. All of this stuff out, generator off, off. Yeah, so now we're just running on the battery, and there goes the discharge in terms of voltage. Good. Guys, what we're going to do next is taxi. We tested the system so far, and it looks good. Yeah, 5.7 amps. I think that in terms of the discharge, that seems quite simplistic, though. It's just exactly what we put into PlaneMaker. The only thing that's off is the avionics. When I turn those on, look at that difference from 3.6 to 11.5. But again, wait a minute, spit again. This is not just the avionics overhead. This is also the radios and the GPS and all of the other stuff that we connected to the avionics that we are not displaying here in the panel. So what I could do, I don't know how sophisticated the 2D panel is. That's what I'm going to do first. Now it's getting really chilly in my room. Damn it. I switched over before clicking my mouse outside of X-Plane. Okay, so be it. I should learn this apparently. Force quit, yes. What I should do, let me first, this is supplemental. Let's put that there. Let's see if that's the case. So even though I just turn my avionics on, automatically also the radios and the GPS and the audio panel, everything turns on. And that might explain why we have a significant charge then. Or discharge, I should say. So let's check it because we still have space to add that. Navigational displays. ADFs, I don't really care. DME, I don't care either. VORs, these are just the instruments. Is it RMEs? No, RMEs are more sophisticated devices. Radios, there you go. So GA. Let's see. GPS, exactly. Garmin. This is the one. All right. Can we somehow resize this thing? I hope we can. And does it? Or size here. 0.5? Yes. I have to say though, guys, PlaneMaker, I mean, it automates a lot, and it still is not the greatest interface, but they have really thought about helping us to automate or to make things a bit more easy. It's nice to see. Okay. Marker beacons. Well, doesn't really nav. Yeah, this is good. This is GA navs. COM1 GA. It looks really nice, this retro style, I have to say. COM2, nav1, and nav2 GA. Just to see if the panels also light up. I don't know if we can turn those off. I think we can. I'll have to see. Oh, this is the stack. Oh, that's actually better. Nav1, you also got nav2. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Delete. Yeah, I don't really care. This is fine for now. And we can select these, click, click, and press G and say radios. Okay, we save the thing. You installed 2 incompatible GPS FMS systems on the pilot side. You probably meant to install one of the pilot and one for the co-pilot. Go to the panel editor and check the co-pilot checkbox for one system. Correct that. Did I? The GPS. Well, either case, I also need to put these on. Pilot side. I don't know. Perhaps I should not care, actually. Let's just see what happens. Save. I know PlaneMaker. We'll have to see. Let's go away. Again, save it again. I know. And now we go back and have a look. Our Skyhawk, not with the engine running. And again, with terms of weight and balance, payloads, left tank, right tank, yeah. Looks good though. Okay. Apparently it is important. Curious to see what X-Plane will do now. Just loads some other aircraft, or? It just loads the default. Oh my Skyhawk just looks great. We're actually going to make it better than this, guys. I promise you. It will take some time, but it's going to look more realistic than that. Yeah, so apparently... on the co-pilot side, is this the co-pilot panel? This is a combination receiver. Use the knobs. Yes. Non-directional. Nowhere I can find something about co-pilot. Oh, here's co-pilot that I can mention. But I don't want it in the co-pilot. Let's just put it all in co-pilot. Shouldn't disappear, right? Co-pilot. Save. You installed 2 incompatible GPS FMS systems. 2 on the pilot side. You probably meant to install 1 for the pilot and 1 for the co-pilot. This is COM, nav2, COM2, nav2. Why is this weird? If I remove those, are those causing this error? No. Is it this one then? No. It's that one. So now if I turn on, let me see. So double check. Let's make it a little bit bigger. 1.5. Yeah, then the image gets ugly. F1. If I save it, I shouldn't get, yeah, so it's the GPS apparently. Okay, Garmin, GPS, FMS. Why can I, functional build 2D, this is a comprehensive GPS driven navigation that can also help, yeah. So, boom, 0.40. Let's give this an, yeah, I already tried. And now I get the error. Now I don't get the error. Okay. I don't even care. Put that thing over there and put that thing over there. ADF, I don't really care as well. Just to see some displays. Is there anything else the avionics drives that we might want to turn off? Yeah, transponder. Transponder. GA. Transponder. We also got DME. Navcom. Yeah, these are just Navcoms. DME. GA. Still good. Yeah, and just the plain old audio panel indeed. Save. Configuration, our Skyhawk, and not with engines running. See what happens. Aussie autopilot. Oh yeah, good one. Good one. Good one. Hello? Oh, perhaps explain doesn't know that we actually changed it. Okay. Because we got that warning. Man, I cannot believe that the thing actually loads up an X-plane and it works. We're gonna taxi soon, guys, to see if that works, and thrust and stuff. New flight. Yes, again, double check. Good, 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 good. That's perhaps also good to check. It's full power, run-up style checks. Also, we need to change that viewpoint. Perhaps we need to fix those things first. Yes. Why are these things turned on if everything is off? Okay, so they are not helping us at all. Volume off. Okay. Okay. So no charge, no volts. We do have amps. Or should I have connected this thing to bus 1 and bus 2? Perhaps it's now working on an independent system. Well, that would be weird. Batteries on. Yeah, so this is the overhead, I guess, of amps that we are already running right now without the batteries turned off. That's batteries turned on. That's a bit weird. but the battery watt hour is not changing, so it will be fine. So battery's on, and now it's discharging. Yes, there goes the new avionics, and then the GPS goes on as well. Now we got a significant, can I turn this one off? Is there a button here by which we can do that? I guess not. No. Okay, so that might explain. There are a lot of systems that are automatically turned on, and that's why we have this amperage going on. Okay. Okay. So that means that we actually have some very simple first things, or relatively simple things to do. Alternator voltage, discharge, we can check. Turning avionics on produces, and but that's might be okay. And let's check that right now. Standard systems, dihedral negative. Yeah, so that's weight. Let me just double check that one. Miscellaneous wings. So we got wings. Obviously, we got wings. Different section here. Dihedral sweep. This is just basics. There's nothing about weight in this menu. I guess it's at weight and balance. Empty weight, fuel weight, tanks, location, how much pressure, fuel tank, how many pounds, empty craft, fuel tank 1 and fuel tank 2. Have I set... Oh no, this has nothing to do. This is just a... no, this is only for weight and balance investigation for you and does not affect explain anyway. Yes, exactly. And these are just checks. Okay, so that's not it. Spring and damping. What could explain that downwards angle of... To me, it seems to be related to weight. Wings. Perhaps there's a... We use miscellaneous wing sections. Perhaps the ordinary wing section has something about... something to do with wing flex. Wing point dihedral increase in G. Fraction of total aircraft wing mass. I think it has something to do with this. This will determine how much the wing bounces around in turbulence and bumpy landings. Wondering might be a good start for a guess. Wing flex damping. This is the structural damping of the wing movement. A lower number will let the wing oscillate for a longer time after a bumpy landing. Interesting. Midpoint dihedral increase in degrees per G of lift above point G. This is the increase in dihedral measured from the center line to the center of the wing. In our case... Oh, no. Wing flex then also only relates to these wings. Or does it also... I guess it's only about those wings and not about the miscellaneous wing sections. So it doesn't matter what I said here. Remember to enter all wing geometry to match in-flight at gross weight at 1G. Yeah, you would expect it to be related to that. Well, we could just simply check, couldn't we? Midpoint, okay, let's make this 9. And let's make this 0.99, and let's make this damping just to see if we can evoke a change. Let's go back, save, developer, reload current aircraft. Boom. Whoa. This looks like Snoopy. Snoopy Dog. Not Snoop Dogg, by the way. Look at that. It's like it's just a Skyhawk that's sad. Or a little bit insecure. It's a bit an insecure Skyhawk. Like, wow, this is my first solo flight today. Okay. So, we know that that section, wing section, menu section, applies also to miscellaneous wings. That works. Now take off. Yeah, exactly. Look at that. This is actually worth a screen dump. This is so silly. Look at that. Good to know. Let's go back to PlaneMaker. Standards. Performance anxiety, exactly, Ozzy. Wings. Wing flex. Okay. So now the question is, what is it? I think it's the dihedral increase, because I'm already noticing that there was some kind of dihedral thing going on, right? Like I'm saying here. So let's get this back to 2.5. Wing damping, what was it? 1? And shouldn't have to do, is likely has nothing to do with that's just how they wiggle, I guess, when we are going over the ground. We're going to check that also. Fraction of total area or the wing mass. It could also be that. So let's make this 0 and let's see what happens. Save. Go to explain. Developer, reload current aircraft. Boom. Shift 4. Ah! Fixed. Fixed. That looks like a proud and secure Skyhawk. Yeah, it's weird. I've put in engine runnings. I put in that we shouldn't start with the engine running, but apparently it does. And that creates this weird behavior. Off. Yes. Manifold pressure should go down too. Why is it so? Yeah, this is going down. Well, I don't even care. Shift 4, at least not now. Yeah, apparently this works. Severo. I have it every time when I reload a plane using the developer menu entry. All systems are on and the engine is running. It's not model specific. Thank you, Severo. So you're suggesting that it has to do just with this feature, reload the current haircut. Alrighty, that's true. Okay, so we know that we have some, just click outside X-Plane, switch. I'm not really feeling that excited about this music. Let's do pop. Does that sound good? Don't know. Wings, wing flex. So wing midpoint dihedral increase, midpoint dihedral increase in degrees per G. Yes, so 1 is clearly too much. So when we do a steep turn, for example, you would expect a little bit. We cannot go negative, right? No. Yeah, lift above 1G. Hello? Pop. EDM. Looks cool. No, boom, exactly. There was also no music on my end. I don't know what Pretzel was doing. So one thing that I'm not quite getting. No, it's true. No, it's true. I was thinking that if we are in a steep turn and we're going around, we obviously are pulling G's, that the wings would go up because we are pulling wind, air mass under our wings. But that's not true, obviously. There's just G load also on the wings, and so they pull down. So we need to set a number here. And it should be quite low because 1 clearly, I mean, we're currently already in 1G. That's the default kind of 1G level, right? 1 gravity unit. So this should be far down. And we can only check this when we're going to do our steep turns. So still to do test, there we go. Wing flex dihedral during steep turn. And we also need to look at some videos to see if we, I mean, it should be very, very little of an increase in dihedral. Now we also got wing mass, fraction of total aircraft mass. Well, it depends on how much fuel there is in. Can we find anything on that? Because that seems like a fixed number. And rather than just guesstimating that, let's see if we can find anything on it. Oh, there's no stream. Oh my gosh. Boom. That's weird because I am running music though. Oh, I know. Here it comes. There's the music. Thank you, Boom, for letting me know. Not that it's a big deal, the music, but music is nice. Yes, so wing mass. Can I find anything on that? Cessna 172, perhaps even on eBay. Do they sell a wing? Well, they might. I love eBay. Cessna 172 wing. No, just smaller parts, I guess. Cessna wings. Oh, that thing you buy. Okay. I mean, that's how you're gonna build your own Skyhawk simulator at home. At eBay, and you just buy an old damaged cabin and you fix it. Anyways, this is not the way to go. Yeah. Wing weights. Pounds. Takeoff weight, wings, pan length, technical data. It sounds good. Pounds, wing, loading. Yeah, but that's something different. Wing loading. Baggage areas, yeah. I'd like to find out. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, manuals. Well, perhaps the structural repair manual. Maintenance manual, perhaps. Yeah, wing. Am I going through all of these different... This is not the way to go. What can I search for? Well, even weight would be better. Weight, total weight, wingspan, engine data, horsepower, rudders, flaps. Oh, that's just the, yeah, the engine. I'd like to know. I'd like to know. Wing area, power loading, wing loading. We could also perhaps look for not the Skyhawk, but just experimental. I mean, if you just have some average and 0.25 again, as Laminar suggests, would be already quite close. I already visited this one. Wing loading. No, I think we should leave it. Fraction of total aircraft mass. Wing mass. These are just very generic. Sometimes I just use the Sky because it's such a popular wing mass. Yeah, again. $172 weight, moment, inertia, no. Yeah, X-Plane seems to... Someone is referring here on the forums. Wing flex can be defined in standard wing. X-Plane seems to default to a wing mass of 25% total mass, which I guess might be a bit on the high side for most aircraft, unless it's just an arbitrary constant. Nothing on this. Okay, I'm gonna skip that. Is there some other test where wing mass might play? Wing mass. Okay, and wing flex damping we can look at also in what's called wing flex damping when we are taxiing over dirts. Wing flex damping. Okay. Saved. Reload. Current aircraft. And again, we see this weird behavior, and we know where it's from. We know what it's from. Off. Shift 4. Yeah, you can already see with 0.5, it already shows you some G-load there. Yeah, so it should be very close to 0. Okay. Swing flex. Yeah, let's make it 10 then. Save, back, click, developer, reload. Boom. Off, shift 4. Why is that wing doing weird stuff? We don't have any wind set. Or is that still the damping, or? That's a bit weird. Per G, because we perhaps have so little difference. I don't know. Let's just put it at 0 and we're gonna look at it some later time. This is not at all a very quite an insignificant detail. I'd like to see a taxi and fly, actually, to be honest. Yeah, now it's much more stable. Okay. Okay. So what were we doing? We're actually checking the list. So we have wing diagonal negative. Yeah, that's something that we checked. Turn avionics on, produce about 11 amp. Yeah, let's have a look at the electrical systems. So yeah, with taxi lights and everything is off, and we just turn on the avionics, we should see a 2.8. Let's have a calculator. We see 2.8 plus, yeah, and the turn indicator also turns on with the batteries, I think, not with the avionics. So plus 2.2 plus 1.7 plus 0.6 plus 1.2 plus 1.5. Yeah, this is getting quite close, guys. 1.3 plus 0.2. There you get it, your 11 amps. Okay, so that's correct. Either way, though, these amps that we put in here also include transmission and receiving, so these are just averaged out. It comes quite close. GPS also is on. So I guess when we're going to model that, and we can turn off our GPS and we can turn off all of our individual stacks here, we can make that avionics switch much more realistic in terms of electric load. When we've modeled those, because these are just data rasps that we can manipulate, I guess. But now with the avionics and with our current very extremely basic panel, everything is turned on automatically. Maple, have we flown this thing yet? We are about to fly it. I'm just checking some initial observations so that we have something reliable to fly with. Flaps discharge is 1.5 amps. Let's check that. +1. Flapper actuate 2.1. Yes, that seems close. Alternator voltage instead. Oh yeah. Electrical. Where is it? No, it's not here. That's actually over here. -2. Yeah, so here's that 29.5 volts. Yeah, that should just be 28.5, I guess. But the battery is usually just 28. No, it's going to be 28. And battery voltage should just be 24. Why should it be 24.5? Let's double check one more time. I'm not sure anymore. We found that in the maintenance manual. 24 volt. Oh. Mac needs to think now. 24 volts. 24 volt battery, yeah, which already suggests just 24 volts, but 24 volts, 24 volts. Taxi light on. Measure battery voltage across battery terminals. So normally discharged battery will indicate 23 volts or more. If voltage is low, proceed. Yeah. Quick flow battery to approximately 30 minutes. 28. 24 volts. I don't see anything mentioned, highlighted in terms of 24 volts. Here, low voltage issue, voltage power junction and supplies is less than 20. Yeah, but that's from the battery. Over voltage is 31.75. Yes. Alternative voltage regulation as you control the other features to supply a main bus voltage of approximately 28.5. There it is. Yes, so 28.5. I knew there was something about 28.5. Then what we can do is also search for just 24.5 volts. Here, defective. So you should turn low voltage light on if, yeah, but that's for the alternator. Supply. Yeah, so from the alternator to the battery, if it drops down below 24.5, but the battery itself is just 24. Volts. Voltage less than 24.5. Yeah, because then the battery is not charging anymore based off the engine or the alternator. This is better, I guess. Okay, save. An idle throttle engine quits. We know because that's a reload error. And fuel. Oh yeah, fuel flow at idle. That would be cool to know. So we already have some kind of a reference. Skyhawk 172 fuel flow gallons per hour idle. And obviously there's a difference with leaned and not leaned. Fuel flow. Yeah, GPH is also something I'm going to look for. Idle? Taxi? Um, 172 gallons per hour taxi. Gallons per hour. Before turning the engine, I prime it with the fuel pumps. If your second throttle back runs about 8 gallons per hour into the engine. That's quite a lot. It should be 5 actually. I don't know what airplane this is, but the CHD rise rapidly as the engine starts and the fuel flow stabilizes at around 4 gallons per hour in full rich. Yeah, so it might be less because this number is also up there. What aircraft are you talking about? Leaning on the ground. 172. Alright, so at least below 4. We were at 2, which seems okay. GPA taxi, idle, ground, taxi, engine starts. Yeah, here again, 4 gallons per hour. Okay, if I don't find anything on this front, so it might be a better strategy to just tweak the fuel flow based off of the performance tables when we are in cruise and stuff, and that might translate back into a proper, correct fuel flow on the ground. So test this, yeah, based on fuel flow checks during cruise, or fuel burn rate checks during cruise, verify idle fuel flow at ground. Okay, good. All right, that's good too. One thing that I was thinking about is let's go. I don't. Is engine or fuel take in, how is it called? That's with, is it with engine specs? Spool up. Engine start fuel intro time. This is how long fuel introduction takes to ramp from nothing to idle during the engine start process. 5 seconds. Fuel pump advance time. This is how many seconds it would take the fuel flow to go from idle to max when the throttle is firewalled suddenly. This is really a fuel pump limit. Well, if that's related to fuel pump, But that's the engine fuel pump, I guess. Let's set it to 1 to see what happens. And engine start fuel intro time, let's set that to 2. Also to 1, just to see what. And compressor spool up, we don't have a compressor. Propeller pitch we also don't have. Let's just check. Save. Again, reload, current aircraft. There we are, again we got the silly fuel pump off. Okay, so we're draining the hell out of our battery. Hey, Edgar, good to see you. When test flights? Yeah, soon. So just checking the initial systems, those look good. And after this one, we're actually going to, I'm also going to reset the viewpoint, by the way, because that's clearly not flyable in the current state. And then we're going to do a taxi, first taxi, so in just a few minutes. And see how it turns and behaves. Also look at the thrust that we are generating. And then we're going to do our first takeoff and have an idea of what the thing is doing. So, yeah. So yeah, EGT is going on. Let's turn it on now. Brakes are on. Fuel pump, I don't really care at this moment. So we start and let's see how fast the fuel flow and the engine just starts. A little bit of a throttle there. Let's go. Hello? Boom. Yeah, so that was very quick. In around a second or so. Okay, let's turn it off. Let's see what happens. Engine specs. So engine fuel pump. No, so the fuel pump. Yeah, we also need to check that one, by the way. Engine start. 5 was not bad at all. You can actually check. Is it part of highlights? Don't know. Where's that flight with me? Right, yeah. Yeah, that was the end video. Season... Is that season 2? Her first flight. Lesson... No, that's her first... Yeah, this is it. Let me see. Here she goes into the cockpit.
Me rijden. And I had all the space. It was like I was in business class. It was wonderful for me.
Business class.
So this is the actual 172 that I was actually
yeah, exactly. The nose
photographing.
kept it black. Exactly.
All the panels and switches and stuff.
I was so...
Okay, he starts it up.
No GPS, Minimum says. Exactly. Well, it has some kind of a GPS.
You also didn't have a
It did have an
It's around 3 or 4 or so.
I think I heard him say.
Oh, it was broken. Not a good.
There is the fuel flow. And it's around 2. Something like that. It's very, very low. Which makes sense.
Not good for some. So here you witness for the first time the Skyhawk start up.
Yeah.
Again, this is...
Yeah, I'd like to see it another time.
Not a good.
Not a set.
Not a good first. No GPS. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's the starter, I guess, and when it ignites, it turns on, and that's what we are
So-
concerned about.
No GPS, Minimum says. Exactly. Well, it has some kind of a
1,
GPS.
2,
You also didn't have a
3.
Did it had an autopilot? No, it didn't.
3 or 4 seconds.
I heard him say
Oh,
that.
it was broken. Not a good,
Not a set.
not a good first sign.
And the
So
fuel
here
flow
you
seems to
witness
be
for the
about
first time
2.
the Skyhawk start up.
Yeah.
Again, this is new.
Interesting. Okay, so let's make that 3 and fuel pump. How many seconds? 1, 2, perhaps 1. Let's check. Developer reloads. Off. All right. Off. Let's see what happens. So this is off right now. 1, 2. Yeah, so this goes pretty quickly, as you can see. And off. Is that something that we can even change? Just a bit. Standard specs. Let's make that 3. And save. And reload. Boom. Go down. Off. I don't really see a difference. So I guess it doesn't have to do with our own engine pumpy thing. Or electrical fuel pump, perhaps it's just the engine driven pump. Okay, a little bit of throttle. Let's turn on the engine, let's see what it does. Oh, obviously the manifold pressure goes to 30. It goes to 29.91 because that's just the atmospheric pressure. This is the vacuum that is created through the system. Yeah, obviously. I thought, how does it go up? Manifold pressure to me is associated with power, and it is, but invertedly, obviously. Yeah, interesting. Let's end start. Boom. Yeah, that's good. Now let's look at the RPM. Now let's go off. Yeah, let's go circle. Well, here you can see I'm on idle right now, and you see this weird behavior. At least initially. It just drops back. You could say, yeah, it's on idle, so that's why, but I thought it was related just to that first. That's a bit weird. Even the way that first kind of load was good. This is still a bit weird. Wait. Click out and then we're here. Yeah, I still need to. RPM idle issue down to look at that. It's not just the reload current aircraft feature, I think. Okay. All right, so that means that we can actually start to do our taxi. So what I need to do is the viewpoint first, because that currently is quite off, so it should go down. No idea how I should fix that, I guess, with viewpoint. Long arm viewpoint. point. Yeah, so this is just the point that we are sitting in the cockpit. Which is over there, which is good. But we are not looking into the right direction. Camera instrument offsets. Long arm cockpit, long arm pilot viewpoint. That's good. But how do we... Default amount, the panel is scrolled to the right, is scrolled down from the top. That looks good. If you on everything that is bigger then this will tell X-Ray where to center that extra space on the panel when running at an arrows hitting you move from there. Scroll down from the top. Let's make that 500 pixels. Let's see what it does. Then we're immediately there. Okay. Yeah, so that's the viewpoint on the panel, but I'd like the entire panel to be moved down. So that's not this. So let's make this 0 still. View center A of left side. Hey Maz, any freeware A3s for XP? I don't know. View center A, how many pixels? This is where on the windshield the horizon will be, yes, straight ahead with the nose level. This is how many pixels up from the bottom of the screen. 590 is recommended. So the HUD center display. How many pixels up from the bottom of the screen? So let's make it 250 then. Let's see what that does. All right, this is the other way around. But we're doing something in the right direction. Let's make it 1000. Save. Reload. Yes, exactly. Okay, so yeah, what should it be? 700. Just trial and error here. Yes, that's already better. Bit up. There we go. That's good. So that means that we are ready to taxi, guys. First taxi. I also like to see thrust. Data outputs. I've seen it somewhere. Propeller RPM. Engine RPM. Yeah, it should be the same because we don't have any transmissions. Engine power. Horsepower. Yeah, so it's just one. Good to see that as well. And where is it? There should be something on thrust. just underneath. Yes. How many pounds? I don't know if that's the thing that I'm actually looking for. Anyways. Any other controls? No. Done. Okay, so let's see. There's my joystick. I think I can control the brakes. Yes, and I can also enable them here. Yes. Again, we got really weird behavior. Let's Let's turn off all of these lights. Still, fuel pump off. It's on. Yes, perfect. Good. So, engine is running. Let's go up. Now, let's do the first taxi. With our Skyhawk. Brakes off. A little bit of power. RPM at 1,000. There we go. We are taxiing. We are taxiing. Alright, well, I'm not giving that much power, so this is 600 RPM. It looks good. In terms of turning, also, need to look from the outside as well to have a better sense. Let's go a bit faster. Power off, so now this is friction. Yeah, so one thing that I'm noticing, I'm idle, constantly idle. We are still very slowly slowing down. This is... Our wheels should have a lot more friction without us... Oh, this is too much of an angle. My gosh, look at this. This is full deflection to the left. But I've set the angle correctly though. It's the right angle for the nose wheel. Shift 4. There we are. Yeah, it's correct. If you look at the nose wheel here, it seems the angle is just perfect. And also looking at the turning behavior here, it doesn't seem weird to me at all. So again, I'm referencing this all to the default 172 in the airflow labs. What I've noticed also in the objective settings, or the numbers that we put in PlaneMaker, that those are quite off, and there might be a good explanation for that, because those guys are tweaking those numbers so that the thing actually subjectively flies better in X-Plane than according to the numbers. However, if I just look at how this thing turns here, it's not weird at all. You could say perhaps that this is a turn where you are using differential braking. So imagine doing this with differential braking, what that would do. Yeah, so let's double check once more. Let me see, what are we looking at? So let's go to that right side. And I still give it a little bit of power and then go to idle to see how much time it will take the thing to slow down. So we turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around. A little bit of power and idle. Look at that. It's like it's on ice. Look at that, it's still going. Now we are going a little bit down slow, but still it's a bit weird. Okay, so clearly we have to do something. Alt U, parking brakes. Standard landing gear. Rolling friction, maximum friction. So that's with full brakes. This is the maximum friction available from the tires. The payment from braking or side loads. Yes, and this is just the ordinary payment when rolling. Typical real planes. No, let's make this a bit more. So let's make this 100 just to see the difference. Save. Reload. And again, we get weird behavior. I think. Yes, there we are. Shifts. Well, let's just look at it from the cockpit view. Brakes released. Yeah, it takes a lot more power to get rolling. We're now at 1500 RPM. So this seems to be too much. Now, idle RPM. And we're already standing still. Yeah, that's too much. This is really fun. So 0.025. So this is 4 times as much. Let's make it 2 times as much. Save. Reload. Again, give it some power. Yeah, this seems better. Again, 1200 RPM. Interesting that we're also being pushed to the left though. I'm not doing that. We are turning to the left. Quite significantly. Oh. So this is our turn. Again. 1100 RPM. And at 1100 RPM, we're still slowing down. And I know that you can have a steady taxi with the 172 around 900 RPM. So that might be a measure that I can work with. So if I now put it at 900, something like this, you can see we're still slowing down until we finally stand still. Okay, so it's still too much. Let's make it, so we got 25, let's make it 35. Save. There we are, a bit of power, 700 RPM, 900 RPM. Oh, brakes are still on, I guess. 900s. 1000, there we go. Bit of power there. Can I also look at the front? Yeah. Okay, let's turn. Still, I'm noticing that left turn tendency. Okay, a bit faster now. 1200 RPM. This feels realistic, or feels like. And now idle. This looks good. My engine is it's about to quit though. Yeah, so I still need to fix that. I can cannot just reload here. Because of the fuel pump, I have no idea, but apparently this is some kind of weird behavior by does it? So we're now at 800 RPM and we're slowly moving on. Okay, so let's press brakes. Max friction. Let's go to 2000 RPM. Okay. What is the engine doing? Fuel pressure is a bit low. Fuel pump is off. We're still generating power. Looks good, looks good. Oil pressure is far above, as you can see. Fuel pressure is now already off of the green. Yeah, so here we go. We're not even at full power. Full power, we reach 2500s. Why don't we reach 2700s? I guess because of the fact that we are on the ground and not flying, and we have some air rushing through or rushing by. I'm more concerned with the oil pressure now, because obviously in a real, yeah, now with full power, how much fuel flow? It's still 11. All right, oil pressure. So fuel flow should also be outside of the green arc, I believe. But I'm going to ignore fuel flow for now. That's something that we're going to do with... yeah, weird RPM. Something that we're going to do with the performance tables at cruise. All right. So let's have a look at engine specs. Is that true? No, that's not true. Is it systems then? Yes, here, oil pressure 115 nominal. So perhaps again, same for nominal generator here. Nominal is not max, it's just indeed normal. I thought I read that it was maximum nominal fuel pressure. So it's in the green, and it should be between 50 and 90, I guess. So 70 might be good. And max should be 115. Save. Let's reload and see what it does. Again, let's go down. I don't know how I fix this, but let's give it just a little bit of RPM. Where is my oil pressure? There it is. It's now 50. And the oil temperature is warm, so you would expect it to see in the green right now. So now with idle, it's clearly not in the green. Yeah, 200 RPM is not good. Perhaps you need to look at the RPM settings as well briefly. But you can see it's at the bottom of the green arc at idle. That's not good. It should be much more up. Perhaps it's the fuel pump. No. Has some relation. No. Okay. So it should be higher then. Let's make it 80. And also let's look at the R. No, let's just first fix this. Save. Reload current aircrafts. Oil temperature. No, there goes my engine. So lowering the RPM as much as I can before it quits. And now we're already a bit in the green, but it's at the lower side in the green. $650, yeah, it's quite low. It's in the green though. So perhaps we should even increase it a bit more. What we could do is sneak peek.
Formula, right? It's the first.
It also didn't have an autopilot.
It did have an autopilot.
No, put your hand away.
It was broke. I think I heard him say
Oh,
that.
it was broken. Not a good.
There it is. And it's at the bottom of the green arc, just at the bottom.
Not a good first sign. So here you witness for the first time the Skyhawk start up.
And you can see that the... Am I right to say this? That's a bit weird that the oil temperature... This the pressure, this the temperature is already in the green. Oh no, that's true. That's true. Because the this airplane was already flown by another pilot just before we went in. Yes, so this is warm oil and there's the pressure. So that's obviously important also in our case, our oil temperature is also green and it's slightly in the green. Yeah, so this makes sense. Should perhaps be a little bit more standard. Systems, yes, let's make it 85. So topper green arc. Top of the green arc. Again, engine's gonna quit. Yes, it seems kind of like idling. Yeah, you can see slightly in the green. Oil temperature still a bit low, but it's okay. Yeah, and now if we still keep on the brakes, let's just manual brake here, maximum brake. Let's go to 1800s. Oil pressure is still in the green. Let's go to full power, still in the green, full power, it's still in the green, it's at the top. Good, fixed it, and back. Yeah, it's just a little bit of RPM there. Oil temperature is rising, it's now comparable to the one in the YouTube movie. Now idling and temperature is around there. Yeah, that seems to be right. If we go just a little bit up, pressure is there, yes. I'm tempted to get it to 90 though. Now at 85 nominal. And nominal, I guess, is based off of our 2400 something. Now, let's keep it here. 85 is good. Otherwise, we will go through the top of the green arc at the oil temperature there. All right. This looks good. Okay. So that's what we fixed as well. Yes. Then what I'd like to do is taxi, but we are going to taxi onto the dirt. And let's see what the wiggling is doing with the wings and also with the wheels. Yeah, the turning ratio here does seem to be okay though, but in the cockpit it seemed quite extreme. Now let's see what the wheels are doing. Yes, you can see that the wheels are actually working. X-Plane automatically adjusts the friction of the wheels based off the terrain that we were doing. Yeah, so you can clearly see that the wheels are jumping up and down here and they're doing all kinds of things. Still tendency to the left. Just double check that it's not my calibration, my joystick. Because it just might be. Anyways, do we see the wings wiggle? Well, they're just wiggling because of the fuselage is wiggling, but they're not wiggling on their own. I am curious though to see what's gonna happen. No. Damn it. Forgot to click outside of X-Plane. And then I'm in mech. I am losing my mouse pointer, which is not really helpful. Ignore. So what I was thinking was with the wings, wing flex damping. Yes, so let's put that to 9.99 and let's see what that does. It's gonna be funny, I think. Explain. New flights, R172. Start with engines running. Good. Yeah. Let's see if that makes a difference in the engine behavior. Not at all. Still weird. Yeah, which is still a thing that I should look at. Oh. Righty. Shift 4. Parking brakes released. Here we go. Let's look at the wings. Or is it only triggered in turbulence? So we're now at 1500 RPM. And with 1500 RPM, we're not even making speed. There we go. Don't know how much power we should give in the dirt though, but on the pavement it looked okay for now. We want to, yeah, Ozzy. But still, I need to fix those basics first before I do anything else. Otherwise, we're getting too many variables in. Yeah, there goes the engine. That weird behavior. I think. Perhaps it's just me. Perhaps it's just a setting. Okay, so that means that the wing flex damping. It's the structural damping of the wing movement. A lower number will let the wing oscillate for a longer time after a bumpy landing. Sorry, I totally misinterpreted what this was. Okay, that's it. All right. Yeah, one last thing. That's the engine specs for the RPM. Perhaps I didn't set any high altitude prop, low altitude prop, max power. This seems to be just fine. Effective power at idle for fuel flow. Enter a value between 0, no idle fuel flow, and 1 huge idle fuel flow here as needed to get the right fuel flow at idle on the ground at standstill. Yeah, that seemed to be quite alright. 2700. Idle is 600 RPM. I need to make sure that that weird idle behavior is really caused by some bug, or whether I'm doing that because of a weird setting. Starter. Engine starts. Design RPM ratio. This electric. Let's put all these on. Let's see if that happens. If that does something. Changes some things. Reload current aircrafts. Nope. That doesn't change anything. That was here, right? Yeah. Starter torque. No, this seems to be just fine. Yeah, what was this? An idle ratio of 1 should give a reasonable low idle. Adjust up or down as needed based on your engine. No, this seems to be just fine. Okay, so again, this is an observation that we perhaps need to look at. We are going to fly a high-speed taxi first, and then see what's going to happen. So a bit more power. Fuel pump off, all of the other stuff off. I'm also not pleased with this music at all. Chill. Generator, avionics. Yes. So first flight, I guess, or is first high-speed taxi. So what we're gonna do is taxi to a runway. And let's get to the bigger runway, which is on the left side. Look at this turn. This is a really sharp turn, but then again, there's the VOR thermal. Now let's set the RPM to around 800s, 900s. Something like this. It should give us quite a steady taxi speed. And it does. I think we set the right kind of friction there on the wheels. That's awesome. We are taxiing to make our first high speed. So what we're going to do is we're going to increase our speed on the runway, but we're not going to take off just yet. I just would like to see how it behaves when we are taxiing at a high speed. And once that's okay, then we're going to turn around on the runway at the far end, and then we're going to take off. And that's going to be our first flight. And so we checked all the RPM, we checked the loads, we fixed already some things. That's proper systematic work, rather than just going in the air right away. But Shift 4. What a beauty. She's already beautiful in gray. Oh, that's nice. So I disabled the 3D model from the panel view. So as you can see, we see no wings, only the shadows. Yeah, speed is perfect. I think our friction stuff is just fine. Yay! Well, I've been waiting for this moment. Yeah, I guess. Sorry, guys, but again, this is just a necessary preparation, and especially if you've been a trusty follower, you know what my approach is to these things. Just a thorough approach, I hope. Like a real test pilot. So we can expect good performance here. And we have we are now collaborating with the fire rescue team and with the tower. Well, there's not a tower controller here on the runway or on this airport. Thermals and on tower airport, and we're not on pilot edge either. But let's just pretend that we've taken all necessary preparations. So there we go. First ride onto the runway with our Skyhawk. There it is. All right. Now let's see what's going to happen if we just increase our RPM. This 1400, 1500, 1700. There goes the speed. Increase, looks good. Slightly a bit of a right pedal. But is that... I'm forgetting whether that should be a right pedal or a left pedal as usual. 40 knots. Still looks good. Alright, so when I pull up, so let's just stick here to 50. If I pull up on the yoke, we are already nose up. Let's go quickly to... So, there we go. And when I do this... Whoa, 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 whoa. See how much force I'm getting at the end of the runway here. Yeah, you can see that the ailerons do have some effect. And for such a slow taxi speed, they might have a little bit too much of a force. So I like to fix that before we actually take off, because chances are that if we use this setting and we fly up and I make a little bit of a turn, we might spin over. And I just like to prevent that scenario that we're going to crash the initial time, just because we can be careful here, which I think is cool. Punch it, Chewie. All right. So far, so good. Still. Okay. So yeah, that's what this suggests to me, that the control geometry, this stuff. So we got controls, we got right deflections, that's all set perfectly. But and this timing, trim deflections, how many seconds is also for later. Minimum elevator time, that should be 0 because this is wired. Phase out, what does that mean? Low end speed, aileron. Travel control ratio. Okay, so we got low speed and we got high speed. You can explain how much of that deflection angle it can actually use in that speed. Well, full, I would say in our case. We don't have speed brakes, control forces. Reference speed. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's pick 110. Full elevator, but it's now 0. When the control is fully deflected, you will see this much force at the reference speed. That force will vary with the dynamic pressure of the carrier. Why is it 0? I cannot go minus, I guess. Force allowable. Force for full right aileron. Let's see what happens. Rather use elevator than aileron in this case. Let's make it 5. I have no idea. This might be dangerous, guys. Safe. Oh, I already... No. Thought I already saw something in the model changed. Didn't I click outside of? Ah, damn it. Sorry. Mac, or the Mac version of X-Plane. All right, so this is set. Yeah. That's a bit weird why it's still on 0, because it felt quite forceful already during such a slow taxi speed that the they already notice so much force, turning tendency. So I was actually trying to set it to 0 to see the difference, but it was already at 0. And again, this is how you might feel tempted as an aircraft designer to say, well, I'm going to change the deflection angle of the ailerons so I get less of that force. And that's how you steer away from the objective numbers. Alright, I guess engine wants to quit. Yes. Fuel pump off. Let's put all the lights on so we're visible. Again, here we are, pressure, everything is good. Again, up. Shift 4. Oh, let's put it like this. Brakes released. Again, high-speed taxi. And I'd like to see one more data ref though. Speed. In this setting, data outputs, speeds. Indicated true. It's also, well, this is fine, I guess. Done. There we go. Alright, 1300 RPM. Looks like a good acceleration. A little bit of right rudder. Speed is 19 knots. Indicated 24. Now let's keep it here. And give a bit of aileron up, or elevator up. Seems like a less of a power. Okay, keep it there. Increase the RPM. Oh, there it goes. Whoa. Is it normal that we can already get a tail strike at 35 knots indicated? Again, at this speed, we're not 40. Let's not go too fast. Again, steady rudders, but only right aileron. Yeah. So you can see there's a tendency of the airplane to go to the right. It's not too much though. 35. Let's go the other way. Doing rudders, and this is a bit unusual for me, also with a joystick. Yeah, so you can see it's going to turn. Let's go a bit faster. Let's see what happens. We don't need to prevent tumbling over. 40 knots. 40, 41, getting at the end of the runway. We don't have any flaps. Yeah, so you can see the angle stays this way, pretty much up to 50. Yeah, there it goes, there it goes. One right wheel is off of the ground. All right, around 50. Well, that's okay, because around 50, around 40 already with flaps down, 41, 42, we already have still have some speed to already go up, airborne. So that would be okay. Okay. One other time, but now with the Ah, that's park and brake. Okay. Found another keybind on my keyboard here, or my joystick. That's handy. Again, let's get to around... Let's stick around 20. We're now 13 indicated, 14, 15. I feel a bit like SpaceX here. 17, 18, 90, about 20. So a little bit back here in the RPM, 21. Just stick around. Yeah, 20. Now let's see. Elevator. Up, up, up. This is full up. Okay, let's keep it here. 20. That seems good. That we don't see a nose wheel rise. So now a bit more power. 22 indicated. 20. Almost 23. 23. Bit more RPM in. Okay, where would you expect to see the nose go up? 26. Let's give a little bit more power here. There it goes already. Yeah, there it goes. To 30. So that's around 30. And that's with the additional 5 pounds of thrust on it. So let's remove it to see the difference. So that was at 30. Click outside of the X-plane. Let's go here. Looks right, 550-ish. Yeah, me too, Aika. So control geometry. Yeah, so these 5 pounds, let's remove those again for the force for full up elevator. Perhaps this is something different than I think it is. And again, this is for some kind of a reference speed. Let's see if we can notice the difference. Perhaps it has something else to do with something else. Back to X-plane. Let's reload. Shift 4. Bit of power. Parker brakes released. Don't have that much runway left, but okay. 11 knots. 13. 20, 21. Still have some runway left. 23, 24, 25. We're getting close. I should have already actually pulled on my elevator because now we don't know what's going to happen. Pulling, 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 pulling. 26 knots. Pulling, pulling. This is full deflection. Bit more power now. 25 knots indicated. We're already at the end of the runway. 26, 28, 29, same airspeed. Okay, so that number has to do with something else. I don't know what it is exactly. Okay, so still based off of these speeds, except for the elevator, I think it's quite early that around 30 indicated, you already see a nose rise. If that's true, it also suggests how important it is to do proper crosswind corrections. So with the ailerons, it's around, what was it, 50? 50 indicated airspeed, okay. The elevators, especially because they're so far at the end, yeah, they have force, they have potential energy. Okay. Guys, we are going to take off for the very first time with our wonderful Skyhawk here. Set our parking brakes. Boom. This is it. I'm gonna take a little bit of water. I don't have any water yet. I'm gonna set flaps and we're gonna take off with this thing. Based on our first checks, based on engine performance, based on our electrical loads, based on our high-speed taxi, we know that we got a reliable airplane. I think we can fly and make a circuit and land with our 172. So I'm gonna get some water, perhaps a bite, and then we're gonna take off. Okay. We got water. We got courage. I hope. We got luck. We've got a good systematic approach, good preparation. Also a good test pilot. So, we are going to make our first flight ever with our 172. One last look at this wonderful piece, which is still one big gray blob, PlaneMaker blob, but hey, it's doing all the things that it should do in terms of taxi speed, frictions, electrical loads, RPMs, oil pressure, fuel flow. We all calibrated this based off on ground checks. We are ready to make a first lap. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay very close to Thermal Airport here. We're not on Pilot Edge, obviously. Also just on my Mac here, so not my usual photoreal scenery. We're going to take off, make a left pattern, but we're going to stay close to the field in case something could happen. And we just land. Perhaps we can just do 2 laps, perhaps even 3, so to get a better sense of the first initial feel for the aircraft. And then it's about dinner time here for me. Then I have to quit the stream and think about what kind of in-air test flights we need to do with stalls and all kinds of other stuff. So really, really cool. Let's hop in the cockpit. There we are, a wonderful 2D cockpit. Let's set flaps. Landing lights, every light is on, that's good. Fuel pump should be off, by the way, as standard on when I reload the aircraft. Yes, flaps just 1 notch, I guess. Is this 10? Let me just very quickly look outside. That seems to be all right, I guess. Doesn't feel like there are notches in the flaps here, so I'm not sure. But either way, with flaps up, we could also easily take off. In terms of trim is set here to 0, so that's good. Fuel, oil pressure, temperature, looks all good. We got indicated airspeed, thrust power and stuff here, which we don't really need for this run. We are ready to go. Okay. First takeoff, guys. Let's line her up. Wish me luck. Full power. 20. 40, 50, 60, rotate. And there we go, airborne. Nose up. Angle seems good to me. Seems good to me. So far, seems good to me. Good angle. Feels quite stable. Ha! There she is. That's what you get when you put time and effort and care into a thing. In the cockpit, okay. 600 feet. 700, let's make that turn. Crosswind turn. Feels good in terms of turn rate. Hey Anna, good to see you. Thank you, Boom. Thank you guys for jumping in. There we are, that's 17,000 feet. Nose down, a little bit less power. Power seems good to me as well. Better than the default 172. Not that that is a goal, but just in reference to it. Let's make that another turn. Very nice turning behavior. In terms of speed, what's our RPM? It's 2000. That's okay. I have no idea. Yeah, already overturned. 17 was the runway, wasn't it? Yeah, so that's here. Good. Runway. Oh, explain. Does it work? Yes, it does work. Parallel with the runway. It's really stable. Well, we still have our flaps in, which is fine, I guess. Oh, that's nice. Then I can use my pod. So yeah, it's a variable flap indicator thing, so it's not goes through notches. Okay, a little bit less power. With what are we now? 1500. Yeah, this is good. Good. It feels quite familiar and okay. There she goes from the field. This is from the well, tower. Look at her. Go. Wow. I'm so proud. I'm actually proud. This is really, really cool. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Okay. First landing with a test experimental aircraft. Also with a joystick, to be honest, guys. Good speed. Going down. I have no idea where the airport actually is. Already far behind. Let's make that turn. Yeah, feels good. Though my view feels a little bit too zoomed in. That's the only thing. My field of view is quite narrow. I need to have a little bit more flaps. Let's go this and more I don't need. Also, what I'm noticing is that the flaps don't really give me a lot of additional lift behavior and drag. So that's something that we need to set to. There's the runway. Let's see if we can do this, guys. Yeah, so that's the lift coefficient and moment coefficient and drag coefficients. And that's stuff that we're all going to do in the next stream where we're going to do in-air test flights. This thing feels so stable. 65 on the money. 1 red. 1 white. Well, not really full flaps, but that's okay. What's our RPM? 1300 is good. There she comes. First landing with our own 172. The music could be a little bit more exciting though. There we go. There we go. Nose up, nose up, nose up, nose up, nose up. On her wheels and nose wheel, and there we are. It's first landing, guys. Feels unusual with the yoke Also, it feels a little bit jiggery. But that's just me not having good handling, I guess, on the yoke. Thanks, guys. Works. Let's do another one. This is not the greatest idea. Up. Let's see what happens. Alright, full power. Well, if this is the baseline that we need to work with, so far though, I mean, still, we need to look at the numbers. Also, look at the speed, how fast we are accelerating. Perhaps it's a bit too fast, but... Okay, nose up. Let's get to VY. So this seems to be VY, or at least a steady climb here, a steady airspeed climb, which translates to this angle, which is okay. I mean, in comparison to the default 172, at least in X-Plane 11.0, the 172 felt like a 182. It was so powerful, too powerful. And here it seems just fine. Again, RPM 2600, that's also good. There's a 2700s. Make that turn. Bit nose down. Alrighty, that's our traffic pattern. There's our crosswind turn. Nose down, airspeed increase. Less RPM. And let's make that turn. Coordinated turn even. There we go. Steep turn here. And downwind. Already descending a bit. There's the field. I'm so happy. It's silly. I mean, I guess also just some of you are already so familiar with making airplanes, and this is just peanuts. But for me, this is almost a half, even more, or 1 month, or even more of 1 month time of work building this and getting familiar with PlaneMaker. So to see the thing actually fly is just magic. It's really such a wonderful feeling. Yeah, so in terms of flaps, you see a little bit of a nose rise. That's something that we can tweak a bit further. Yeah, Jim, it really flies good. Yeah, replay. We're also going to look at the replay after this one. It's one more landing, so we know that it's not just luck. It feels quite stable. And if you look at this, I mean, my deflections. Are not that much. If you look at the attitude indicator on top and then the deflections at the bottom, it seems that the turning is going much too fast. So the turning rate is too fast, so we might change that as also. It should be a little bit more heavy feeling, I feel. I'm gonna do a real world test flight in the 172 soon, so I'm gonna make videos of that and use that as references. Okay. Good. To base we go. Again, we really love to have track IR right now. Man, this thing is stable. Okay, going down. Give me full flaps. I don't care. Yes. Speed is 70, 60. Let's keep it a bit higher. Now I have 2000 RPM. This makes sense because we're flying at level. Again, would love to have track IR. There we go. Ooh, nice. Reduce power. The interesting parts for me will be the things like fuel flow and how the temperature responds to high altitude. Yeah. That's stuff that we're all going to do. We need to fly according to the performance tables. First, we're going to do stalls and stuff, but I need to prepare those test flights that we need to do actually in air, like we did now on the ground. And you can see that it has a nice trade-off. Because we did all of that preparatory stuff, we know that the thing is actually behaving like it should. All right. Getting a better feel for the joystick. Main wheels. We're still down. We're rocking with our nose wheel. Nice. There we are. Flies like a beauty. From the box. Out from the box. It's amazing. Cannot describe my feelings here. It's really, really cool. So, yeah, I'm gonna taxi back to the ramp. And we can look at the replay. And then call it a day. So yeah, one thing that I'm noticing also now with turning is it's a bit too sensitive. I mean, the angles seem to be right, but not the amount or the degree to which I need to twist the yoke or make turns here. It seems to be a little bit too aggressive. Yeah, so the question is, how do we change that? And perhaps that's the load. That's that spring or damping section that we were looking at earlier when we did that high-speed taxi. That load has nothing to do with how much force the turning has, but how much force, how heavy the yoke feels to make a turn. Yeah. Oh, no problem, Jim. Thank you for dropping by. You're just there at the right moment. Okay, back to the GA ramp. That was cool. I mean, and think about how you can teach kids this. They can make their own airplane and need to think about how they're going to test this. A really, really nice extension to our flight simulation practice, I think. Okay. Let's put our Skyhawk on the ramp in front of us there at 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Yeah, it feels like a taxi is like an ordinary Skyhawk already. Okay. There she is. Brake. Parking brakes. Yeah, we get that weird behavior. Boom. Off. 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 And everything is off. And that completes our first test flight with the Cessna Skyhawk 172 SP made by the Uncertified Pilots and in support or with the support of you guys. This is really a collaborative effort. This is so cool. Replay. How do we do a replay? I forgot already. Is that Shift R? Control R? Alt R? How do we do a replay? I totally forgot. Toggle replay mode. Option R. Yes. There we were flying. This is the first takeoff. No, this is the first landing. There we were. Good. Look at her go. Wings up. And she's flying. Oh yeah. Now, based off of this flight performance, I don't feel I have to change the exhaust pipe or these wingtips. Also not the elevator, it's also even more precise. You can see it's a bit off. It feels just right. But who knows, we're gonna fly according to the tables and do all kinds of other test flights soon. Very stable. Thanks, Ozzy. Okay, Shift P. Or shouldn't I do that? Let's pause. What did I do? Shift P, Control P. Why did it stop? Or is it just P? I want to see the flight path. What did I do? Shift P, reset 3D flight path. Oh, I should have not done that. I think it now has removed the entire flight. Sorry, guys. Control P, reset. That's quite a subtle difference. So now I think it doesn't have the entire flight anymore. Damn it, sorry. Can I stop the replay? Oh, thank you. Now we are flying with an engine out. Alright, that's the final one. Let's see if we can still do this. A stall. Angle of attack. Can we see that? Angle of attack 175. That's interesting. What's that? Fiddly dingham. I don't know what that is in front of us. Alright, got an engine out, no flaps, or 10 degrees of flaps. Where's that runway? There it is. Runway 35. Looks good. A lot of energy on our wings. And flaps up landing. So our Skyhawk will tell us when she's ready to land. Boom! There she is! Oh, parking brakes were still on, obviously. That's why we are so rapidly... Yeah. Now, let's look at that then. Option R. What's option R? Is it option R? That's option R. That's great. You can see there's no wiggle there, damping on in the wings. So that's something that we can work on still. Don't know how much we would actually see that, by the way. It should be negligible, but okay. Could not be any happier. Good checks. Initially, some system problems that we fixed, but minor things. No weird errors, and our first flight was just perfect. It feels like a Skyhawk already. Still though, we need to really fly it according to the numbers, or to the numbers, and that's what we're going to do in one of our next streams. But this is just great, man. Yeah, and without tweaking any numbers so far. I mean, numbers just away from reality. So that's really cool. Okay. Dum dum dum. So flexion electrical load, that's what we did. Engine start idle RPM we did. Yeah, that's the only thing that I still am a little bit frustrated about, is that RPM idle shutdown behavior. And some of you said, well, this is because of the reload current aircraft feature, that developers plugin thing. Could be, but I need to make sure that that's the case, because perhaps, I mean, my settings look good, but perhaps I need to optimize or fix something else in PlaneMaker, and has it to do with me. I could also check that, by the way. Verify by reloading the default 172. If that's the case, I can also just fly the default Laminar 172 and reload it through the developers, and it should also give me the same kind of RPM issues. If it doesn't, then I know that it has to do with my flight, with my airplane. Oil pressure temp, that's all what we did. Suction I already checked. Pitot is still charged. We all checked that. Full RPM, yes, but that's not on the ground. But in the air, we saw that the RPM was actually bigger than at the ground. So X-Plane is doing all kinds of calculations that seem correct there. Also in terms of fuel flow, but that's something that we're going to do in our next episode. Wing mass, I'm not quite sure. I need to look that up. Let's already put that there. Meanwhile, I will look at wing mass. And if you can too, that would be great. What's the wing mass of our Skyhawk without any fuel in it? So we can add that as well. So that's something that we're going to look at. And also prepare in-air flight tests. Yeah. And what we're going to do then is air, well, not really handling. We're going to do proper in-air test flights. And I'm thinking of stalls, very important. And that's also stalls with different CGs. And also the stall horn angle. It's going to be cool. And if we are really making progress, we can also do test flight performance tables and see how she does. Okay, this goes away. Good. Braking power we did. Stern angle. Yeah, it seems quite aggressive, that angle, but still, yeah, one thing that I didn't. That's the elevator and aileron deflection feels quite aggressive. Something that we can look at. Yeah. Taxi over dirt. Wheel spring force we checked. And that's also something that we can do. The wing damping at touchdown. Yes. Braking power, friction rollout we checked, and high speed friction rollout we also checked. And oh, we didn't check with crosswinds, but that's what we did with a high speed taxi, just to see. I was curious to see whether the Skyhawk would tumble over with full aileron deflection to one side at what speed, and we had it at around 50 knots, and that was the number that I was looking for. So this is all done. Boom. At least for now. The main part obviously is going to be in-air test flights. So I'm going to think long and hard about what we need to do in the air to make proper test flights. It's going to be awesome. I'm so happy. Again, wonderful screenshot during our test flight. Look at that. We made the wings quite heavy. Just to see what particular numbers we're doing in the PlaneMaker. And this was the result. Man, it looks like a sad Skyhawk, but man, did it fly today. Okay, perfect. Let's see if I can get to my ending screen. Yeah, there we are. So guys, thank you again for jumping in supporting me, guiding me, but also cheering me on to make that first test flight. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I don't know when I'm going to stream next. Perhaps tomorrow. Or otherwise it's going to be Monday or Tuesday or so. But we're really making progress here, so that's really good to see. But the real complex part is going to start now once we are in the air. Because there are a lot of other variables are going to interact, and we need to further tune our Skyhawk so she flies like an actual Skyhawk. And then we can move on to the actual 3D modeling. Blender. I cannot wait to start with that. So we're gonna make it look pretty, animated, like a proper student pilot Skyhawk that I would like to fly as a serious pilot. So that's next. Again, guys, thank you so much. Wishing you a pleasant Saturday, and hoping to see you very, very soon. Happy flights in blue sky.